Tim Banks is back at Neyland, like he was going anywhere to begin with. But regardless, the Volunteers have agreed to a brand new extension with their defensive coordinator and probably part of the biggest reason why they made it to the college football playoff. So let's go ahead and discuss the news. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson. And Banks is back in Knoxville for 2024. Real quickly, make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification, and subscribe to the channel because we talk college football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, link in the description. Follow Dave at Mach 10 Sports, me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at GameTime. Download the GameTime app and use the promo code SECU for $20 off your first purchase. You got college basketball. College baseball is right around the corner. Maybe you want to go catch a Preds game out in Nashville. Maybe of your favorite comedians coming to town. Stop wasting your time. Stop wasting your money. Go use GameTime, the #1 ticketing app. Promo code SECU at sign up for $20 off your first purchase. Dave, think about this for a minute. Tim Banks' name was flown around with multiple different schools. Miami reportedly was in the mix for him. Clemson reportedly was in the mix for him. Ultimately, they go in different directions. He's on a final year of his current contract. Takes his team to the college football playoff, really was the backbone of this roster for most of the season. And there's some speculation that some people didn't like this move for the long term. I don't understand it. In fact, for my money, this was always the right call for Josh Heupel going into a must-win 2025 campaign.
No, I agree with you, Bear. I think this. I mean, you talked a little off air. I didn't understand kind of the critics out there kind of being like, well, we shouldn't have re-signed him. We should have just let him see what he could go find, and we come back and we lowball him. It's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe you could upgrade, but I don't think it's a guarantee by any means. I mean, I think his unit was a massive reason why you went to the college football playoffs this year. His unit was single-handedly, him and Rodney Garner, that defensive line, that defensive front, was the sole reason why this unit ultimately won 10 games in the regular season. It's weird. I don't know. It's like, are we just prisoners of the moment at times, and what Ohio State did to him, playing a phenomenal, perfect game offensively? I mean, we forget Will Howard was remarkable that game. 2 incompletions. Like, come on. They would have beat anyone that day. I don't know if we're just prisoners of the moment. I'm with you, Bear. Me and you talked a little. It's like, wow, I don't even understand why some people are even upset about this. I think this is a pretty obvious deal. No-brainer. I think it was the strength of the team this year.
Here's the other thing that's really important. To me, when I look at Miami and I look at Clemson, both schools that have an opportunity to go punch their ticket to the college football playoff in 2025, at best, it feels like a lateral move. And that's not an insult to Clemson. That's not an insult to Miami. Both are high-ranking institutions in the world of college football. But the thing about Tennessee is when it's humming, it is a premier program. It is one of the backbones. It is one of the foundations of the SEC. Remember the Philip Fulmer days. Remember when they were a team of tyranny. They were a team that took names and kicked ass. And it was largely due to having a stellar offensive line and a great defensive front. This is when Tennessee is at its best. And they're going to pay him $2 million, which is a little bit of an upgrade in payment, which again, you're staying in the SEC. You've earned the right to say that you deserve a brand new contract. And for a guy like Tim Banks, this is a perfect fit. Because what do we know about him? He's probably waiting for a group of 5 or a power 5 head coaching job to open on up. Until there's a reason for him to leave Knoxville, why would you look anywhere else? This was a unit that last year was one of the best in college football. Number 7 in the country in scoring. Number 6 in the country in total yards allowed. Number 7 in the country in third down conversions. Number 12 in the country in red zone conversions, 10th in the country in tackles for losses, and 36th in turnover ratio. They were one of the most consistent units. The thing that I always knew is when Nico Iamaleava and the offense was having its struggles, the defense was going to get the ball back to them to create another opportunity to at least punch it on in. When you have that type of defense, when you have that type of persona, you hold on to that for as long as possible. And keep in mind that several of the transfer portal commits that a guy like Tim Banks was able to bring in, Jamal McCoy being the most prevalent, really did hit last year. And a big reason why this team has, I think, a good layer and foundation going into the upcoming offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think they gave up, 20 points 3 times or more this
3
year?
times.
3 times. I mean,
3 times. They averaged this year 16.1 points allowed per contest.
Yeah, it was the backbone of the entire season of them getting to 10 wins this year. So, yeah, and they've gotten better each year. Yeah, could he be a little bit more creative with in-game adjustments from changing up some blitz timing stuff? Because I think people do adjust to him a little bit as it goes on. And I see the statement, hey, the better teams we played, the more he gave up points. Well, I mean, you could say that about any defense. I mean, the better the competition, yeah, the points, the box score is probably going to look a little worse than when you play like at Oklahoma this year. You're playing in Kent State, UT Chattanooga this year. Yeah, I mean, that's 2 + 2 = 4 here. Obviously, when you play Georgia, obviously when you play Ohio State, those teams are playing at their best. Yeah, the numbers are going to be a little increased. I get that. Let's be honest. Georgia has a more talented roster than Tennessee. Ohio State has a more talented roster than Tennessee. So they were outmanned a little bit, not a lot, but still, I mean, the least of my concerns in Knoxville, if I'm being honest. The least is the defensive side of the ball. Maybe next year we're singing something different. They do have to replace a lot of guys in the front, but I do think them losing Peely this year it kind of made Tim Banks have to like, hey, let's sit back a little bit. Like they didn't fully trust the Jeremiah T-Lander kid, whereas Peely was going to be the leader, and I think that was where the aggressiveness from that second level was going to be.
The thing that I really wonder about is, can this defense take that next step forward with how much talent they're losing? And it's not just veteran talent. It's guys that would decide to enter the transfer portal. What did you be able to bring in with your recent recruiting class? Can you get them up to speed in time for week 1? But Dave, we also mentioned this. They only allowed 20 points more than 3 times this year. One of them also was a kickoff return. So really, it was only 12 times by that defense. The Vanderbilt game, the kickoff return at the very beginning in the first quarter, you take that out, it was 12 times they gave up 20 points or fewer. You don't get much better than that. And for a guy like Banks, who I do believe is able to get the best version out of this roster, you want to have as much continuity as possible. Here's the main reason why I think that holding on to Banks, giving him a brand new contract is a must win. And honestly, probably the biggest home run that Tennessee has seen since Mike Matthews decided to say, you know what? I like the transfer portal. I'm going to come back and run it with Nico Iamaleava next year. I don't know what I'm getting on the offense. I don't. We still don't know if they're going to have the same sufficient run game that they had with Dylan Sampson. This was a team that led the SEC back-to-back years in rushing. You're putting a lot of pressure now on your quarterback to be the answer. And what if he can't? What if you still have to win these games 23-20, 24-21, 27-20? I mean, that's something that you can hold out hope and say, we have a defense that is only going to be filled with depth. It may not have the same frontline starters, but we still have quality depth all over this roster. We know on top of that we're in a really good spot. And who are we going to get that's going to be a better replacement? I think that's the other important thing, is that we talk so much. Ryan Day gets brought up all the time in the conversations about Ohio State. Overrated for the job. Okay, who are you bringing in that's going to give you better results? Matt Campbell? Matt Campbell is a fine coach. I absolutely think that he would be an incredible hire for the team in terms of beating Michigan and then going 9-3. That's not the goal. The goal is to make it to the college football playoff, win national titles. So who are you upgrading from after a disastrous performance that anybody would have been in against Ohio State? Because when Ohio State is humming, they look like the most complete team in college football. Who are you bringing in that is automatically, going to win with the culture, going to win with the atmosphere, going to win with the players, going to win on the recruiting trail, going to win in the transfer portal, develop talent and turn it into first-round future day one starters? Who is that guy that's available right now that can come on in? Because Tom Allen just went to Clemson. You're not finding a guy who is going to go on down to Coral Gables. There's not an option out there that is better than currently what you have residing. And sometimes that's what we do, is we overreact to one minor detail and it becomes a major milestone in the program's history.
Yeah, and I agree. And I talked about it on my show before. Like, I don't think there's a lot of what big time coordinators are there out there. Right? It's just like it wasn't what it used to be. The old Will Muschamps of the day, the Kirby Smarts of the day. Like, these people want immediate change, but there's no guarantee you can get. I mean, could Tennessee's defense improve technically? Sure. Is there someone out there that you could go get that is a guarantee to improve that and improve this defensive side on the defensive side of the ball at Tennessee each year? And let's be honest, it's not easy to be Josh Heupel's defensive coordinator. He likes to run as many snaps as possible. So your defense is going to be on the field more. Your stats are going to look worse on your resume after you work for Josh Heupel, potentially, when you're trying to go get another job. This isn't a coveted, especially this year, after they lose in the front. This was a no-brainer. 2 + 2 = 4. I'm sure Josh Heupel has known this. This has probably been verbally agreed upon for a long time. It just hasn't been publicly announced that it's been. So, again, this has probably been a little bit more than it should be. But no, this is a no-brainer.
Dave, let me ask you, do you know who came in right behind them in scoring defense?
Texas.
No, Penn State, who just lost Tom Allen to Clemson. Guess who came in right behind them? Minnesota with Corey Hefferman, who just went on down to Miami. So again, he was going to have options if he wanted them. He was going to be highly sought after if he wanted them. You were not going to be able to find a replacement. When you look at the current defenses that were in that same realm, Kane Womack wasn't on the board. You weren't going to get Clayton White to come on in from South Carolina. I don't think you were going to be able to pull Tosh away from Oregon. I don't think that you would be able to pull Al Golden away from Notre Dame after the historic season that he had. So you really are kind of playing in an area where your defense for years has been a problem for Tennessee. Now it is the solution. Don't try to fix the solution. You already know what's working. You already know what's there. Continue to build around your offense and trust that a guy like Tim Banks is going to be able to lay enough of a foundation to where whenever he does leave, because I'll be real, he will get a job offer sometime. He will be someone that we are talking about who is highly sought after in the head coaching realm. If they continue this success next season, you want to be able to make sure that the right players, the right culture, the right mindset is in place. So this way, when you actually have to have that conversation of replacing Tim Banks, you know what you're looking for in terms of a persona as a defense coordinator.
No, I agree, and I'll be bold and say this. I mean, I don't think it's bold, but it may bother some Tennessee fans. They're lucky to have him back. I mean, there was a better shot, and I wouldn't have blamed him. It'd make more sense for him to leave Tennessee right now than Tennessee not go give him another contract. It would make more sense for him to go all out for that Clemson job. It would make complete sense for him to go out, restart the clock. Dabo's not getting fired anytime soon. I know they lost in the first round, but they just won the ACC. It's Dabo Swinney. He has 2 national titles. More job security there than at Tennessee, if we're being honest. And again, I'm not saying Josh Heupel's in the hot seat by any means. Just if we're calling a spade here, it would have made a lot more sense for Tim Banks to go try to find another job with, hey, well, we're losing on defense. Is Nico the guy? Can the offense help me out? It's already tough being Josh Heupel's DC with the way the offense operates. It would have made more sense for him to try to go look for another job to restart that clock on a new contract where he could be at for a while than Tennessee getting rid of him and not renewing him. That would make no sense. So I think Tennessee did 100% the right thing. From what I heard, this has been verbally agreed upon for a bit. So I don't think this is a Josh Heupel thing. I think it's just, I don't know, fans that are just mad at the way the season ended in Columbus. And it is what it is. You still had a good season. You were 10-3, made the playoffs. Defense was the least of your problems this year.
So you have one take, I have a different one. I think that Tim Banks needs Tennessee as much as Tennessee needs Tim Banks. Because like you said, when you hit the reset on the clock, you don't know what's going to happen next year. You may have a terrible unit with Clemson that has better players on paper, and then you're shown the door. Same thing for Miami. I mean, you look at Miami, what's going to be the status of Mario Cristobal long-term? Josh Heupel's bought himself at least 2 or 3 more years to where he's going to be able to continue to build this process in a certain direction and image. And here's my thing. If you double down and have just as talented of a season, if your defense is the reason why you're right back in the 10-2 college football playoff hunt next year, every single group of 5 and probably lower tier Power 4 program is going to see that and say, we need that type of culture at our program. We need that type of sustainability for our team moving forward. So honestly, for Tim Banks, if you're able to duplicate your success, congratulations. You're going to move up the pecking order as probably one of the more sought after coaches on the market for a head coaching opportunity. And I don't know where that is just yet, but I do like this Tennessee defense. I still believe this Tennessee defense, despite losing talented players. And now Jamal McCoy is going to be out for the spring because of the torn ACL, but he should be back at some point in 2025. I still believe that this unit, this team, is good enough defensively to make a run back to the college football playoff if the offense can take a little bit of a step forward. And even if not, they're still going to be in that 9-win range. They're still going to be one of the top 25 best teams in college football. There's a reason to believe that the culture, the standpoint, the belief around Knoxville, the belief around Rocky Top is actually booming. This is now a 3-sport program and a 3-sport institution. College football is back near the forefront, right alongside baseball, right alongside men's basketball. I think it's sustainable. I think because of what you have with Tim Banks, it can be sustainable for the long run.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was the right decision. Don't even think it's even really, I don't know if you could even argue, really.
Let us know in the comment section down below. Do you think it was the right decision to bring back Tim Banks on a brand new contract extension? Like, review, make sure you hit subscribe. Follow us on the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow Dave at Mock 10 Sports, me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. For today's Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson. Rocky Top, your defense coordinator. He wasn't going anywhere to begin with. Peace.